Watchmen for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, given, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushua. Double honor to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Yahushua. A hearty shalom to you mighty men that go out there and labor and do the work of the Most High, presenting your body as a living sacrifice, enduring all things for the elect's sake, pushing this truth and magnifying the ministry. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent, and they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sisters, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. This will be a quick live stream where we headed down to the school. The new moon begins tonight at sundown. Right? Quick announcement for those who do follow the calendar of Watchmen for Israel. We're keeping the new moon tonight at sundown. All right, the new moon is tonight at sundown. Wednesday night, so-called Wednesday night, the so-called Thursday night. All right, and you got to keep the new moon. It's not optional. It's not something, well, I did it last month, I don't have to do it this month, or I only keep the Sabbath day, but I don't keep the new moon. You got to keep all of these feast days, man. It's part of your heritage. You got to keep the new moons. You got to keep the Passover. You got to keep the memorial blowing of the trumpets. That's coming up, so-called. You got to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Dedication. You got to keep the Day of Simon. You got to keep the Destruction in the Nicanor. You're commanded to keep and uphold these high holy days, man. It's part of your heritage. Now you got brothers saying, well, I don't have to really keep those high holy days because I'm in the land of my captivity. But where is that at in the Bible? Well, you don't have to keep the high holy days because you're in captivity. You know? But let me get this precept real quick in 2nd Esdras. It's madness out here. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 9 and verse 7. Right? Let's read that. This 2nd Esdras, chapter 9 and 7. Damn. It reads, I'm going to read 6. Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And every one that shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed shall be preserved from the said perils and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. So the Most High said the only ones that's going to make it out of here are those that are going to escape. Right? By what? By your works and by your faith. You can't just say that you're an Israelite. You know, you can believe that. That's perfect and that's beautiful that you believe that you're the chosen, which we are, that we're the Israelites, we're the sons of the living God. The Most High made a promise with our fathers. Right? And that's beautiful to believe that, man. Right? Yahweh even said in John chapter 14 and 1, ye that believe in the Most High, believe also in me. Right? And Yahweh is the truth. With that being said, you can't just believe and have all the faith and have no works to back it up. Your works are predicated on keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And there's more to the commandments than not eating pork. Stop thinking where the dietary laws are the only commandments. There's more to the commandments than not eating shrimp, than growing your beard out. If you've been in this thing for about a year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever, and you don't know about the new moon, then you need to get it together, man. This should not be your first new moon if you've been in this thing for like 3 months, 6 months. I can see if this is like your first week, your first 2 months, you coming around, you trying to figure out what's going on. You're still getting your feet wet. You're trying to find your role in this thing and what the Most High got in store for you. But you gotta eventually grow in this thing. The Lord said in 1 Peter, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2 and 1. Right? The Lord said, desire the sincere milk of the word that ye may grow thereby. And keeping the feast days, that's part of the milk. And that helps you grow. And the Most High honors that, man. When you begin to rehearse these righteous acts and keep the commandments, you'll find yourself getting built up more. Right? This 1 Peter, like I said, it's not going to be too long. Right? This 1 Peter chapter 2 and 1. Right? Bear with me. Salakia. right? First Peter chapter 2 and 1. Wherefore laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies and evil speakings, as newborn babes desire the sin may grow thereby. And babies cry after milk, man. You know, last time I checked, newborn babes, they don't, whisper when they want milk. It's not a secret. Everybody knows when a newborn babe wants milk, they cry after because that's what they need. That's what that word desire means. When you desire something, you crave it. You need it. You long after it. You're yearning for it. So just like a newborn babe desires actual milk from its mother when it's nursing, we have to be like that in this truth. When you first come in this thing, you got to desire this milk. You should want to know how to keep the new moon. Right? You should want to know how to keep the feast days. You should want to know the high holy day calendar. You should get into this thing, man. So again, tonight is the new moon, right? Tonight, so-called Wednesday night, I believe it's June 9th to June 10th at sundown, it's the new moon, right? How do you deal with the new moon? The new moon is a feast day. Let's go to 1 Samuel. Actually, let's go to Numbers chapter 10, right? The new moon is a feast day. So you shouldn't be fasting on the new moon. I know a lot of brothers, you working on fasting more. You're challenging yourself to go harder when it comes to fasting. But you should not be fasting on the new moon. Right? Let's get that in Numbers. Right? Numbers chapter 10. It is a feast day. All right, bear with me. All right? It's lucky. You're trying to turn these pages. Right? So this is the book of Numbers, chapter 10 and 10. And it's okay to fast, but I'm going to go to Judith in the 8th chapter after this and show you that there are certain days where you should avoid fasting, especially on a feast day, right? You got brothers that say they do the complete opposite. They'll fast on feast days, but they'll feast on days that they're supposed to fast. You got brothers in the truth who keep the Day of Atonement, but they keep it as a feast. And they eat. They got steak and they got lamb. And it's the Day of Atonement, And do you tell a brother, hey, look, brother, the Day of Atonement is a fast? They say, no. It's in Leviticus chapter 23. It's a feast. So you gotta kind of know, what's going on in this thing. Or you're going to be caught out there and you have to deal with it. All right, this Numbers chapter 10 and 10. It reads, also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days and in the beginnings of your months, ye shall blow with trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings. Now the Israelites, part of the law, they were required to eat the peace offerings. Right? They can actually eat that offering. So it shows you even in the beginning of your months, when you had the peace offerings on this new moon, it was a feast day. They had the burnt offerings that the Levites and they ate, and you had the peace offerings that that you can eat outside of Levi, right? It reads, let me read it from the top, Salakia. Also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days, ye shall blow with trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. See that? So in the beginning of the month on the new moon, you should have your shofar. Right? You should be blowing the trumpet on the new moon. Right? And if you don't have a shofar, you say, well, look, I didn't know that. Where do I get them from? How much do they cost? Well, now you know about the shofar. Right? Right? You get your trumpet, your ram's horn. Right? You can get it from Amazon. There's a brother on Instagram named Ariah the trumpet maker. Not Ariah in the camp, but Ariah the trumpet maker. He make all types of shofars. Glow in the dark shofars. Damn, he make the best shofars in Israel, right? Got the studs all in them, so you can get a shofar from that brother, and you blow your trumpet on the new moon, man. And you have to get into this thing. And I get excited about the new moon. It's not a chore. It's not a burden. Well, here's the new moon. Oh man, I can't work. I can't buy. I can't sell. No, we get into this thing, man. We about to do a lesson. We may go live, on the main channel in a minute, going to a quick lesson, and we're going to have a feast as brethren, right? So you want to make sure you keep these feast days. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel. David kept the new moon. And remember to tell you that in 1 Kings chapter 11 and 4, that David's heart was perfect with the Lord. So as David's heart was perfect with the Lord, and he kept the feast day in the new moon, we have to keep the new moon. All right? So this is the book of 1 Samuel. All right, let's get that. This 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 5. It reads, "And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon." Right? Tomorrow is the new moon, and I shall not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the fields until the third day at even. So even David said, hey, look, check this out. Tomorrow's the new moon. Well, how come David is even mentioning that? Because it was always customarily, or a law, rather, to keep these feast days. And he said, I shall not fail to sit with the king at meat. What does that mean? At meat is an archaic way of saying a feast. So what he's saying is, look, tomorrow's the new moon. It's going to be a feast day with King Saul. Right? What does that mean? On a new moon, you can cook. Right? If you like lamb, you get your lamb, throw it on the grill, cook it how you want to cook it. If you want some venison, some deer, you throw it on the grill. You do what you want to do with it in righteousness. You know? And it's a feast day. And you eat, drink, and you be merry. If you like wine, you drink your wine on that day, man. If you want a beer, you can drink some beer. If you like strong drink, you kind of drink a little bit of strong drink. All right? In moderation and in season. You don't have your head down on a new moon. Right? Don't be crying yourself to sleep, man. There's always something to rejoice in this truth. Even in the days of mourning and in the house of mourning, we're also commanded to serve the Lord in gladness. Right? Like I always bring that precept out in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies. So we're supposed to serve the Most High with a joyful heart. We're supposed to keep these commandments and be glad about it. You're supposed to keep the new moon and look forward to it. And you're crossing off the different dates on your calendar, so when the new moon finally come in, you get excited. You're supposed to look forward to these things. You know, you did that in the world. Right? When July 4th came around, you was ready. Right? When Christmas came around, you was up all night. New Year's Eve, Jake, you get down on New Year's Eve, you do all types of stuff, man. You got an expensive ass outfit on, you know? You ordering all of the damn food, the wings, right? And you kind of get into this thing in the world, but you don't want to get into this thing for the Most High. And that's why a lot of brothers going to get cut down. Why? Because you take this truth and it becomes a burden to you. Or this truth becomes a chore to you. And the moment this truth and keeping these feast days becomes a chore to you, you're going to find yourself kind of slowly falling away. And you're going to be out of this thing. And the Most High going to replace you with a brother that's better than you. All right? What the hell is that? Yes, man. Let's go to Psalm chapter 81. Right? Let's go to Psalm chapter 81. Let's get another precept on that. Right? Let's get another precept on that. This Psalm chapter 81. Oh, give me like 3 minutes. This Psalm chapter 81 and verse 1. It reads, "Sing aloud unto the Most High, our strength, and make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob. Take a psalm and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery." So what is the psalm and the timbrel and the pleasant harp and the psaltery? Those are musical instruments. So you can have music going on a feast day, man. You know? You don't have to have a soundtrack of people crying all day on a new moon. No, you get your feast day playlist going on. You might have some truth music you into, or some whatever you into, man, in righteousness. So in the ancient world, when they kept the new moon, they had the psaltery, they had the harp, they had the feast day. The music playing, they had the wine, they had the food. And it's a beautiful thing. The Most High gives you a feast day every month. Every month you have a feast day. And the new moon, when you look at the new moon, it's a dark moon, so-called dark moon. When you can't see the moon, right? When you can't see the moon, that also teaches you have a new beginning, right? This is a new beginning for us, right? You have a chance to get right. You have a chance to increase in light. It reminds you of the days that you came out of darkness. It reminds you of your transition from the old man that was buried in the ground in darkness to the new man is able to see the light of Yahushua. So the new moon teaches you many things. You rejoice. It shows you your transition from darkness into light. It's a restart, because the light, the cycle of the moon, the phase of the moon restarts when it's dark and it's empty, and it waxes in light all over again, right? Just like us, right? We wax in light, we increase in light, we increase in light, you know? But let's read on Psalms chapter 81 and 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel, and a law of the God of Jacob. Right? You see that? So that's a commandment, to blow up the trumpet on the new moon and keep these feast days. All right? Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Sirach. Right? Let's go to the book of Sirach. One of my favorite precepts as well. Right? I go to this often. Right? Let's go to Sirach chapter 14. Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha, chapter 14 and verse 14. It reads, defraud not thyself of the good day. Now, when you look it up, like if you have a 1611 that I'm reading from right now, it'll say feast day. You can't see it, but if you got a 1611, it'll say that on the margin. When it says defraud not thyself, let me see if I can get this. Right, Salakia. You see that? See that right there? So in Sirach chapter 14, it says, defraud not thyself of the good day. But in the margin, it's letting you know what kind of day it's really talking about. It's really talking about the feast day. It's not talking about your birthday, right? That's not the good day. It's not talking about your auntie invited you over for Mother's Day and all of the aunties over and all of the grandmothers over and they unwrapping gifts. And it's not talking about a baby shower. When it says defraud not thyself for the good day, is letting you know that it's really going into the feast day. Right? Look up the definition of defraud. We're going to pull up the definition of defraud real quick. I'm going to read it. Right? So it says defraud not thyself of the good day. Right? And I'm about to get the definition of defraud and show you, you know, what this is going into. Right? Basically, don't rob yourself. Right? When the feast day, so here's the definition of defraud. All right. Let's see. Okay, it says to cheat. All right. I'm gonna go to the All right. It says I'm gonna pull this up. Bear with me. So for defraud, to deprive of something by deception or fraud. So when the Lord said, "Don't defraud yourself for the good day," don't deprive yourself. Right? Do not deprive yourself of the feast day. Meaning keep it. All right? Keep the feast day. Don't sit there and say, well, oh, you know, I'm in the land of my enemies. I had to work today. I don't have to keep it. No. Get into this thing, man. Hey, brothers, we get into this. Brothers that drink, they get the wine. You know, we got the grill. We about to go to the school. And like I said, we're going to do what we have to do, man. We're not wearing sackcloth and ashes. Brothers, they might put on, you know, what they want to put on. They want to put on their favorite, you know, little frankincense and myrrh. You know, you might have the sisters in there. They got on their favorite dress. And we getting into this thing, man. And that's how it's going to be in the kingdom. Right? In the kingdom of heaven, when the new moon come around, you're going to be excited. You're going to be happy. Abraham's going to be there. You know? Daniel's going to be there. Jeremiah. Imagine keeping a feast day with David. Hey, that's going to be righteous, man. You think David's going to, I don't want to keep the feast day, man. No, man. Our fathers loved the Lord, and our fathers pursued the commandments, and they were men after the Lord's own heart. Right? So it says, defraud not thyself for the good day, and let not the part of a good desire overpass thee. Right? And that's a good precept. Isaiah 66 and 23. We're going to get that as well. Shall thou not leave thy travails unto another, and thy labors to be divided by lot. Right? So let's get that in Isaiah 66. Meaning you only got one life to keep these high holy days. And when Jacob's trouble kick off, and you're a pilgrim on the earth, and you're looking for food and water, if that's your lot, you're going to wish that you had the new moons. You're going to wish you had that feast day. You're going to wish you took that time to congregate and link up with like-minded brothers and sisters. Ain't no seeking the dainties in the grave. Ain't no new moon in the FEMA camps. Ain't no more keeping the new moon in your head in the guillotine. This is it right now. This is it, man. All right, Isaiah, I want to get that precept the brother went into. Right, Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 23. It reads, and it shall come to pass. Now this is dealing with the going into the kingdom. Right? And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. Meaning men that didn't keep the new moon. If you're not keeping the new moon, that's a transgression. Because you're commanded to keep the feast day. You got brothers saying, well, it's not that serious, right? I really don't have to keep it. No, you're commanded to keep this day. You have to, this is a holy day. You know? I'm going to go back to that. Let me go real quick to Sirach chapter 33 and 7. I'm going to go back to that. Right? When the Lord said, you're going to look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, that's not always talking about brothers that just committed adultery. That's talking about you brothers that do not want to keep the high holy days, where it's a burden to you, and you kind of mad, and you sitting there, damn, when is the new moon going to be over? I can tell you in Amos, the 8th chapter. You know? That's going off. Ecclesiasticus chapter 33 and verse 7. It reads, why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day and the year is of the sun? Right? Let me read that again. It's a question. Right? It's not a wise question, but it's a question being posed by a man who doesn't understand the knowledge of the Lord. Right? Why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day and the year is of the sun? Because you can say, well, what makes this day so special? The sun shines on every day. How can one day be different? It's not like the sun gets larger on one day or the sun disappears, right? How do we know that certain days are distinguished from other days when the light of the sun shines on everyone? Well, the Most High, he's about to break it down for you. Because the brother may ask that. Verse 8, by the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished, and he altered season and feast. So how are they distinguished? By the knowledge of the Lord, meaning through these commandments. Some of them hath he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days. So what are the high days? The new moons, right? The feast days, the Sabbath day. When you read 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and 11 on down, the Sabbath day is called the most sacred day. You know, that's written in 2 Maccabees. So some of these days are high days. And you got ordinary days. You know, after the new moon is over, it's an ordinary day. Not a day where you can sin, but it's a day that's not hallowed, right? It's not set apart from the other days. You can still buy it and sell and work, but certain days you can't do things that you can do on other days. Like on the new moon, you can't buy anything. You can't even sell anything. You can't do any work unless it pertains to cooking and preparing your food. All right? And you got to remember that. Let's get that in. I'm going to go back to Isaiah. Then I'm going to go to Amos chapter 8. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 66 and 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh. When it says all flesh, that's everybody on the earth. So right now, we're the ones that keep the high holy days. But in the kingdom, the Ishmaelites, they going to keep the high holy days. The Moabites, they going to keep the high holy days. The Ammonites, they going to keep the new moon. The Japhites, they going to keep the new moon. Even at the sons of Ham, right? The Canaanites, the sons of Martezarium, the Egyptians, they going to keep the new moon. Even the Philistines, they going to keep the new moon. That's what all flesh means. That doesn't mean all Israelites. It's talking about literally anybody on the earth. right? It says, all flesh shall all flesh come to worship before me, said the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So you're gonna look at on all of the carcasses, right, of these bodies before they get thrown in the fire and before they're buried. You're literally gonna see that. People are gonna have to travel from their respective lands and come to Jerusalem and keep these high holy days, right? They're not gonna be allowed within the city, right? But they'll kind of be on the outskirts, because the Lord said in Revelation 21 that no abomination is going to enter into those gates, right? So they'll have to keep that, but they're going to be in the outside looking in. And anybody that's going off in the kingdom of these other nations, they're going to get stoned, they're going to get put to death. And a remnant of these nations that wasn't buried, they're going to have to get buried or get thrown in the fire. And the other nations are going to see that. And it's going to be as a memorial to what happens when you disobey the laws and the commandments of the Most High God in the kingdom of heaven. Right? You see that? Let's go to the book of Amos. All right, Amos, the 8th chapter. All right, Amos chapter 8. What else makes the new moon slightly different? Amos 8 and 5. And you can't know all of the breakdowns in Revelation, but you don't know how to keep the new moon. Right? You can't have the fanciest garment in Israel. Right? Or you a sister, you got the longest dress with the longest fringes and the pure silk hair wrap, but you don't know nothing about the feast days. You got to be well-rounded in this thing. You know? I'm going to get a few more and I'm going to wind down. Amos chapter 8 and 5. I'm going to start at 4. Amos chapter 8 and verse 4. Hear this, O ye, it's like your O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small, and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. So you had our forefathers, they were so wicked, they were literally counting down the time to when the new moon can be over. Looking at the sun, damn, we got about 3 more hours. When is the new moon going to be over? Why were they doing that? They were doing that because as soon as the new moon was over, they would start ripping the people off. You know? And there's certain brothers like that. There's certain brothers where they really don't want to keep the high holy days. They kind of going through the motions. As soon as the high holy day over, they damn ready to buy and sell. That's wicked, man. You shop it on Amazon, you open up the website 5 minutes before the new moon is over. You open up, you log in to Amazon, you open up your shopping cart, and it's 5 minutes left to the new moon, but you set a timer. And then as soon as the damn timer hits 00 and the new moon is over, you click buy. That's wicked, right? You don't want to be the brother that's just waiting for the feast days to be over, you know, because you know, in this captivity, man, you don't get too many opportunities to have a Sabbath. You can relax and chill. You always at work. You always catching hell. You might get shot any day. You can give up the ghost any second. You could be out of here, man. That's why the Lord said in Sirach chapter 14 that there is no seeking of dainties in the grave. You know? Let's get another precept, right? Let's go to the book. I want to get this precept as well, right? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. Actually, I had this in, bear with me. So you want to make sure that you're rejoicing in the Lord and keeping these feast days. Let's go to the book of Nahum, right? I want to get this in Nahum, the 1st chapter, right? I got about 3 more and I'm going to wind down. This may be my last one, right? Maybe get another one, two more after this. We'll see. This is the book of Nahum, chapter 1. And 15. I'm gonna start at this Nahum chapter 1 and 12. Right? Nahum chapter 1 and 12. Thus saith the Lord, though they be quiet and likewise many, yet thus shall they be cut down. When he shall pass through, though I have afflicted thee, I will afflict thee no more. For now will I break his yoke from off thee, and will burst thy bonds in sunder. So the Lord is going to break off our yoke from serving the so-called white man. You're not going to break it off yourself. You're not going to liberate yourself. The Lord said, no man shall buy you. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is going to deliver us. Right? Verse 14. And the Lord hath given a commandment concerning thee, that no more of thy name be sown out of the house of thy gods. Slakia, will I cut off graven image and the molten image. I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. So the Most High is going to make the grave of Esau because he's wicked as hell. Here is the point, verse 15. Behold, upon the mountains, the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast. I'm going to read that again. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast. Perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. So the wicked's about to be utterly cut off. This place is about to be destroyed. And what did the Lord say in the midst of all of that destruction coming? He said, Judah, and it's not just southern kingdom, all of Israel, keep thy solemn feast. Keep the new moon, right? No buying, no selling. It's a feast day. Eat, drink, be merry. It's tonight at sundown, and it's over tomorrow at sundown. And you never know how many more new moons you have left in this thing, right? But with that, Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Kwam Malak Yahushai. Most High willing you was edified. Kwam Yashala. Shalom.